Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Arkham Files. My name's Dr. Henderson.
My name's Dr. Boose.
And today we join you for the second episode of this series. Last week, we dived deep into the case file of the Joker. This week, we'll dive deep into the file of Harvey Dent, a.k.a. Two-Face. All right. So, are you aware of his origin?
Yeah, I mean, is there multiple ones? Because I just know one.
Well, I don't know. We'll get into that.
Okay. Hey, but I am aware, or I am familiar with his origin.
All
Please
right.
do explain for people who do not know.
Yes, so Two-Face, or Harvey Dent, is a supervillain appearing in comic books published by DC Comics, commonly as an adversary of the superhero Batman. The character was created by Bob Kane and Bill Finger and first appeared in Detective Comics number 66 in August of 1942. As one of Batman's most enduring enemies, Two-Face belongs to the collective of adversaries that make up Batman's rogues gallery. Once a bright and upstanding district attorney of Gotham City, Harvey Dent is hideously scarred on the left side of his face after mob boss Sal Maroni throws acidic chemicals at him during a court trial. He subsequently goes insane and adopts the Two-Face persona, becoming a criminal obsessed with the number two, the concept of duality, and the conflict between good and evil. In later years, writers have portrayed Harvey Dent as having dissociative identity disorder, with Two-Face being an alter, which stemmed from the abuse he received from his father during his childhood. Two-Face obsessively makes all important decisions by flipping a two-headed coin, with the other half scarred, given to him by his father. The modern version is established as having been once a personal friend and ally of James Gordon and Batman, as well as the childhood best friend of Batman's alter ego, Bruce Wayne. Feel free to comment and while I'm reading.
Well, I was going to say, I always like the version of him being a really good friend with Bruce.
Yeah, I don't like them being childhood friends.
Yeah. Not childhood friends, but like, because obviously him trying to run for mayor and Bruce being, the richest man in Gotham, obviously they're going to have some interaction. I like the idea of them turning out to be like really good friends.
Yes.
And the whole tragedy that happens to Harvey, it kind of really upsets, it kind of bothers him a bit, and it feels like Batman kind of feels like he didn't save. He's like one of like he just didn't save him.
Well, they showed in what was it, Batman Forever? Batman trying. It was in the courtroom, right? Whenever, or was it The Dark Knight? I can't remember which one it was. Oh no, it wasn't Dark Knight. It had been Batman Forever when it showed him getting burned, the acid thrown in his face, and Batman was like trying to run towards him.
I want to say that was Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight, he turned into Two-Face on that building.
Oh yeah, it was an explosion. It was gasoline.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. Yeah, does it? Some people say he just turned evil with the after explosion.
Well, I like to think
he had personality disorder.
Yeah, I like to think that, but I also like to think he had the personality disorder. But when like that courtroom thing, when the chemicals got thrown on his face, it messed part of his brain up. Because it would like seep into his brain and stuff. And I feel like that would have been a good thing had that gave him the personality disorder somehow.
Yeah. Okay.
I think this is one of the most interesting Batman villains, in my opinion, because it's such a unique.
It's a very tragic story.
Yeah, and very unique.
You know what you're looking at least.
It's a very unique take on a supervillain.
Mm-hmm.
I've always loved it because it's two characters.
He is one of the greats.
You have Harvey Dent, and you have Two-Face.
Yeah. And I mean, the design on him is incredible.
Depends.
Well, I know it's nothing crazy. It's just like a line between faces and stuff, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just, I like the different takes people do with them, especially like with the suit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's some people that have, like, one side's like a white suit, the other one's like black.
Yeah.
Some of them have, like, a weird zebra print to it. It's really cool what people... Design-wise, I think you could go crazy with Two-Face.
Yeah, most definitely. The Two-Face has no superpowers, instead relying on his proficiency in marksmanship and hand-to-hand combat, which was further improved after being trained by Deathstroke and Batman. As a former lawyer, the character uses his expertise in criminal law, criminology, and police procedures to devise his crimes. The character has been adapted into numerous forms of media, having been portrayed in live action by Billy D. Williams in the 1989 film Batman, Tommy Lee Jones in the 1995 film Batman Forever, Aaron Eckhart in 2008 film The Dark Knight, and Nicholas D'Agosto on the Fox television series Gotham. Richard Mole, Troy Baker, and others have provided Two-Face's voice ranging from animation to video games.
I'm
favorite Two-Face.
I was gonna say I'm kind of disappointed of how they kind of do Two-Face sometimes, because I can always see him being like a leader in a way to other villains. You know what I'm saying? Like I obviously not like leading Joker.
No, he's with like in the same area as Penguin and Black Mask. He's a mob guy.
Well, I could see him taking charge in front of them or whatever. You know what I'm saying? He was able to convince one of them to kind of join his side.
I feel like he'd work with Black Mask. He worked with Penguin in Arkham Knight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do know that.
Okay, tell me this: which version of Two-Face is your favorite? You got your Billy D. Williams, who was Harvey Dent. Which they made Two-Face at all. They made Billy D. Williams Two-Face in the Lego Batman movie. Mm-hmm. But you have Tommy Lee Jones, obviously Batman Forever. That one's the more wacky version. Yeah, obviously the one in The Dark Knight. Very wacky. The one in The Dark Knight. And then the one in Gotham, he was just Harvey Dent. They didn't show him. He was all right, Harvey Dent. He was a younger Harvey Dent because it was a prequel. But or you got the Arkham game version.
Well, I was going to go with the animated series.
Or the animated. I mean, that works too.
I like that one a lot because the episode where you first introduced to him is really good.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna say the Arkham games, Arkham City, more specific.
Well, I don't think the Arkham games are bad. I just don't think you see enough of them because you only see them in like what 2 games, Arkham City and Arkham Knight.
Yeah, I like how he's like his hair's been burned off on one side because that's the way it would be.
Oh yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
I like the more realistic looking Two-Face instead of like green skin or purple skin or whatever.
Yeah, where he's more burnt. I don't know. The animated series is cool because you get to see the evolution of Harvey and see again everything I like about Harvey Dent is in that series. So yeah, I'm gonna say the animated series for Harvey Dent.
All right. And I said the Arkham games. Here's his publication history. Two-Face first appears in Detective Comics number 66 with the name Harvey Apollo Kent. Later stories changed his name to Harvey Dent to avoid an association with Superman, Clark Kent. The character only made 3 appearances in the 1940s and appeared twice in the 1950s, not counting the imposters mentioned below, which you'll see. By this time, he was dropped in favor of more kid-friendly villains, though he did appear in the 1968 issue World's Finest Comics number 173, in which Batman declared him to be the criminal that he most fears. In 1971, writer Dennis O'Neil brought Two-Face back, and it was then that he became one of Batman's most prominent arch enemies.
Okay. So he wasn't used for a while. Huh. I wonder why.
We might find out. Well, it did say that they want to do more kid-friendly villains. That could have been around the time as the Comic Code Authority came out.
Okay, that makes sense.
In his autobiography, Batman creator Bob Kane claims to have been inspired by Robert Louis Stevenson's Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, specifically the 1931 film version, which he saw as a child. Some inspiration was also derived from the pulp character the Black Bat, whose origin story included having acid splashed on his face.
Mm-hmm.
In the wake of Frank Miller's 1986 revision of Batman's origin, Batman Year One, Andrew Helfer rewrote Two-Face's history to match. This origin, presented in Batman Annual number 14, served to emphasize Dent's status as a tragic character, with a backstory that included an abusive, alcoholic father and early struggles with dissociative identity disorder and paranoia. It was also established in Batman Year One that the pre-accident Harvey Dent was one of Batman's earliest allies. He had clear ties to both Batman and Commissioner James Gordon, making him an unsettling and personal foe for both men.
Huh.
I always find it interesting. And if I ever made a Batman movie, I would do this, have Two-Face in there. And when he meets Batman, I feel like he would know that Bruce Wayne's Batman.
Just right away.
But he wouldn't tell anybody. He's got that kind of respect. But I feel like Harvey Dent would be the one that's like, he sees Batman, he's like, oh, Batman, you got to help me, please. And then when Two-Face takes over, he tries to like always murder him. So it like switches that quick. Like,
yeah.
It's like, oh, Batman, you got to help me. No, you get over here. Or something like that.
Yeah. Like I could see like a whole like fight scene going on. Like, let's say like Two-Face has like a hostage or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he ends up like killing him, right? And then Batman comes up, starts just wailing on him, and then right in the middle of that, he switches back to Harvey or something.
I got an example of this. The Arkham City, when he's sitting there, first introduced Two-Face. He's sitting there and he's talking to himself.
Oh yes. This is where it's in the courthouse, right, with Catwoman and all that.
Yeah, and he's sitting there like flipping that coin, and it's Two-Face talking, and Two-Face is like, "We have to be fair, though. This is a place of justice, after all." And he goes, "Screw justice, killer," and they'll all fear us.
Yeah,
and, like I just love how they talk to each other. That's like something.
I always love that scene because he's like, you're doing this whole court case and stuff, and like if you just sit there and kind of wait and just listen, it's like constantly switching back and forth. Yeah,
and you can tell whenever he turns around and says, "Bring out the defendant" or whatever. You can tell he's not doing just Two-Face voice or Harvey Dent. It's like both. So like it's like one single. Both of them combined said that. Yeah. It's just so interesting.
I always hate the thing of. I hate that. That's like another thing I kind of hate. It's they try to pull off it's actually just Harvey. It's been Harvey all along. There was no Two-Face. You know what I'm saying? And Harvey's just crazy. Or
that is an interesting take, but it's not. I
don't like it. I don't think it just doesn't sound good to me.
Yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's talk about some of his appearances in comics. So this is pre-Crisis on Infinite Earths. Mm-hmm. You know, the big DC event that started the New 52, right? I want to say. It didn't start the New 52. It ushered in a new era of comics and stories. Mm-hmm. This is technically their version of the Infinity Gauntlet, right?
Yes.
All right, but the pre-Crisis version of Two-Face is Harvey Dent, Gotham City's handsome young district attorney. A mobster throws acid in his face during a trial, scarring half his face. Driven insane by his reflection, he renames himself Two-Face and goes on a crime spree, deciding with a flip of his lucky coin whether to break the law or perform acts of charity. Batman and Robin eventually capture him, and he is rehabilitated thanks to plastic surgery. Later stories, however, depict him as returning to crime after being redisfigured. Writer Les Daniels wrote that the early Two-Face was the most deadly serious of Batman foes. He added that Two-Face seemed to disturb even his creators, who cured him through plastic surgery at the end of his third appearance in 1943.
Yeah, I know they did that in Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, I like that where he's healed and he's all right, but then he's just like, but his brain's still messed up. So he's like, you know what?
Yeah, it was never like the look or anything, you know.
Yeah.
So I know some people, they believe that as soon as the acid happened, that's what turned him into Two-Face. It's like, no, that part's always kind of been there. Mm-hmm. And you know, they kind of had a visual representation of it, of what it kind of looks like.
Yeah. We'll talk about now the post-Crisis Two-Face. Harvey Dent, the post-Crisis version of Two-Face, is depicted as having an unhappy childhood. His father was a mentally ill alcoholic who beat him regularly, often deciding whether or not to brutalize his son based on a flip of his lucky coin. The abuse instilled in Dent his lifelong struggle with free will and his eventual inability to make choices on his own, relying on the coin to make all of his decisions. Dent is diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder at a young age, but manages to hide his illnesses and, thanks to an unyielding work ethic, rises up through the ranks of Gotham City's district attorney's office until, at age 26, he becomes the youngest DA in the city's history. Gordon even suspected that Dent could be Batman, but discarded the suspicion when he realized that Dent lacked the vigilante's financial resources. Dent forges an alliance with Gordon and Batman to rid Gotham of organized crime. Mob boss Carmine Falcone, who will be in the Batman, bribes corrupt assistant district attorney Vernon Fields to provide his lieutenant Sal Maroni, whom Dent is trying for murder, with sulfuric acid. Maroni throws the acid in Dent's face during a cross-examination, horribly scarring the left side of Dent's face. Dent escapes from the hospital and reinvents himself as the gangster Two-Face. He scars one side of his father's coin and uses it to decide whether to commit a crime. Eventually, Two-Face takes revenge on Falcone, Fields, and Maroni, but is captured by the Batman, leading to his incarceration in Arkham Asylum.
I mean,
I kind of like that one a little bit better.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I'm into that.
So that's showing that it was kind of there from the beginning with his unhappy childhood and all that.
Yeah.
And then the acid, it just like send him over the edge.
Yeah. Yeah, I can get by with that.
Yeah.
That's something I would say the two villains, like there's always going to be a villain that you feel for and you feel bad for.
Mm-hmm.
And those, I would say the two villains in Batman's gallery, Rogues Gallery, that I can just think of the top of my head, is Two-Face and Mr. Freeze.
All right.
He's because I mean, like in some stories, he's dating Selena. I know in the Telltale series he is. I believe in other stuff he is as well.
Yeah,
and
so.
like, and it's sad because you can see like a good life he can have.
Yeah,
you know, and but like that.
Oh no, you just wait till that Riddler episode, man. I'm telling you.
Oh yeah, I can't. And I'm glad to hear. I'm glad to hear that because I can't wait to see more. I can't wait to hear more stuff. So, but you know, I'm not like Two-Face is in my top 5 or anything, but I love everything about Harvey Dent more than I do the whole villain. Strangely enough, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Here we go. Let's continue on. Yeah. During the Batman Dark Victory story arc, the serial killer Hangman targets various cops who assisted in Dent's rise to the DA's office. Two-Face gathers Gotham's criminals to assist in the destruction of the city's crime lords. After a climactic struggle in the Batcave, Two-Face is betrayed by the Joker, who shoots at Dent, causing him to fall into a chasm, presumably to his death. Batman admits in the aftermath that even if Two-Face has survived, Harvey Dent is gone forever. During a much later period, Two-Face is revealed to have murdered the father of Jason Todd, the second Robin. When attempting to apprehend Two-Face, Jason briefly has the criminal at his mercy, but lets Two-Face punishment be decided by the law. Two-Face similarly serves as a baptism by fire for Jason's successor, Tim Drake. When Two-Face has Batman at his mercy, Tim dons the Robin suit to save Batman. In Arkham Asylum, A Serious House on Serious Earth, which I don't know if you've read this comic, but it is very good.
Okay. I've not read it. I will check it out.
I recommend it. Arkham's doctors replace Dent's coin with a die and eventually a tarot deck. You know, tarot cards, what they use to tell, you know, I can't really explain. I don't know how to explain it. I know a lot of people are into it. It's where you like at those tarot readings or whatever. They flip the cards like, oh, this means that you'll have this in your life or something like that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's what tarot is. But rather than becoming self-reliant, Dent is now unable to make even the smallest of decisions, such as going to the bathroom. Batman returns the coin, telling Two-Face to use it to decide whether to kill him. Batman leaves safely, but it is implied that Two-Face made his own decision to let Batman live. In the No Man's Land storyline, in which Gotham is devastated by an earthquake, Two-Face claims a portion of the ruined city, takes up residence in Gotham City Hall, and forms a temporary alliance with Gordon to share certain territory. His empire is brought down by Bane, employed by Lex Luthor, who destroys Two-Face's gang during his destruction of the City Hall of Records. Two-Face kidnaps Gordon and puts him on trial for his activities after Gotham has declared a no man's land. The Two-Face is both judge and prosecutor for Gordon's legal alliance with him. Gordon later plays upon Two-Face's split psyche to demand Harvey Dent as his defense attorney. So this is something I like right here. He's playing them against each other. Two identities. That's great. He's getting put on trial by Two-Face, and he's like, you know what? I want Harvey Dent as my defense attorney.
Huh. Interesting. That is pretty cool.
Yeah. During this time, Two-Face also meets Detective Renee Montoya. Montoya reaches the Dent persona in Two-Face and is kind to him. He falls in love with her, but the romance is one-sided. And eventually, in the Gotham Central series, he outs her as a lesbian and frames her for murder, hoping that if he takes everything from her, she'll be left with no choice but to be with him. She's furious, and the two fight for control of his gun until Batman intervenes, putting Two-Face back in Arkham.
Dang.
In the Batman Two-Face Crime and Punishment one-shot comic book, Two-Face captures his own father, planning to humiliate and kill him on live television for the years of abuse that he suffered. The story reveals that despite his apparent hatred for his father, Dent still supports him, paying for an expensive home rather than allowing him to live in a slum. At the end of the book, the Dent and the Two-Face personalities argue in thought, Two-Face calling Dent spineless. Dent proves Two-Face wrong, choosing to jump off a building and commit suicide just to stop his alter ego's crime spree. Two-Face is surprised when the coin flip comes up scarred, but abides by the decision and jumps. Batman catches him, but the shock of the fall seems to, at least temporarily, destroy the Two-Face personality. And Batman Two-Face strikes twice. Two-Face. What? They put Two-Face twice on this case file that I'm reading. Two-Face attempts to frame Janus as a criminal by kidnapping him, replacing him with a stand-in, whom Two-Face disfigures with makeup. Batman eventually catches Two-Face, and Gilda and Janus reunite. Years later, Gilda gives birth to twins, prompting Two-Face to escape once more and take the twins hostage, as he erroneously believes that to be conceived by Janus using an experimental fertility drug. I don't know who Janus is, but
I'm not too familiar with Janus either.
Paul Janus is okay, here we go. I kind of skipped this right here. Two-Face at odds with his ex-wife at one point, Gilda Grace Dent. He believes their marriage failed because he was unable to give her children. She later marries Paul Janus, and then he frames Janus as a criminal and disfigures him, makeup or whatever. Years later, Gilda gives birth to twins, prompting Two-Face to escape once more, blah, blah. The end of the book reveals that Two-Face is the twins' natural father, so he's got children.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to try to go through this a little quickly. Here's the Batman Hush, just a quick thing real quick. In the Batman Hush storyline, Dent's face is repaired by plastic surgery, seemingly eradicating the Two-Face personality. Dent takes the law into his own hands twice, once by using his ability to manipulate the legal system to free the Joker, and then again by shooting the serial killer Hush. He manipulates the courts into setting him free, as Gotham's prosecutors would not attempt to charge him without a body. Okay, don't have much left. I was making sure because I don't know how much of this guy's story. There's a lot more than I thought there was, to be honest. So it's Return to Villainy. And the Batman story arc Batman Face to Face that started in Detective Comics number 817 and was part of DC's 1 year later storyline. It is revealed that at Batman's request and with his training, Harvey Dent becomes a vigilante protector of Gotham City in most of Batman's absence of nearly a year. He's reluctant to take the job, but Batman assures him that it will serve as atonement for his past crimes. After a month of training, they fight the Firebug and Mr. Freeze before Batman leaves for a year. Dent enjoys his new role, but his methods are more extreme and less refined than Batman's. Upon Batman's return, Dent begins to feel unnecessary and unappreciated, which prompts the return of the Two-Face persona, seen and heard by Dent through hallucinations. In Face to Face, his frustration is compounded by a series of mysterious murders that seem to have been committed by Two-Face. The villains KG Beast, Magpie, Ventriloquist, Scarface, and Orca are all shot twice in the head with a double-barreled pistol. When Batman confronts Dent about these deaths, asking him to confirm that he was not responsible, Dent refuses to give him a definite answer. He then detonates a bomb in his apartment and leaves Batman dazed as he flees. Hold on. I gotta catch my breath. That was a lot.
Yeah. That was the whole novel right there.
Yeah, I just explained the whole story. You don't even have to read it anymore. There's even more. Here we go. Despite escaping the explosion physically unscathed, Dent suffers a crisis of conscience and a mental battle with his Two-Face personality. Although Batman later uncovers evidence that exonerates Dent for the murders, establishing that he was framed as revenge for his efforts against new crime boss Warren White, aka the Great White Shark, it is too late to save him. Prompted by resentment and paranoid reaction to Batman's questioning, Dent scars half his face with nitric acid and a scalpel, becoming Two-Face once again. Blaming Batman for his return, Two-Face immediately goes on a rampage, threatening to destroy the Gotham Zoo, having retained 2 of every animal, including 2 humans, before escaping to fight Batman another day. Batman subsequently confronts White, which is the Great White Shark, while acknowledging that he cannot attack White, as there is no explicit evidence supporting Batman's deductions, vowing to inform Two-Face of White's actions when they next face each other. On the cover of Justice League America, Volume 2, Two-Face is shown as a member of the new Injustice League. He can be seen in Salvation Run. He appears in Battle for the Cowl, The Underground, which shows the effects of Batman's death on his enemies. In Judd Winnick's Long Shadow arc, Two-Face realizes that someone else has taken over as Batman. He hires a teleporter and manages to infiltrate the Batcave. When the new Batman investigates the cave, Two-Face ambushes him with tranquilizer darts, and in hallucination, he sees Dent in a red and black Two-Face themed Batman costume. Alfred Pennyworth saves the hero from Two-Face's torture after subduing his accomplice, and with his help, Batman convinces Two-Face that he's the real, original Dark Knight, informing Dent that his problem is that he cannot imagine Batman changing, because he himself is incapable of seeing the world in anything other than black and white. In Streets of Gotham, Two-Face has been at odds with Gotham's latest district attorney, Kate Spencer, who's also known as the vigilante Manhunter. Two-Face has recently been driven out of Gotham by Jeremiah Arkham in the recent comics. I got 2 more sections right here, and we'll be ending this off.
Okay.
The New 52. In September 2011, the New 52 rebooted DC's continuity. Here, Two-Face's origin is revised significantly. Harvey Dent is a successful defense attorney whose clientele include twin sisters from the McKillen crime family, Shannon and Erin. The sisters coerce Dent to become their family's legal retainer for life. They then place a contract on James Gordon and his entire family, despite Dent's protestations. The Gordons survive the attempt on their lives, but Dent, bound by attorney-client confidentiality, is unable to dissuade the McKillens from continuing their lethal vendetta. The violent attempt on the Gordons' lives prompts Bruce Wayne to initiate and fund Dent's campaign for district attorney. Dent becomes DA, and the McKillen sisters prosecuted and sentenced to life in prison. After Shannon commits suicide, Erin escapes by switching places with her sister's corpse. Blaming Dent for her sister's death, Erin breaks into Dent's house, kills Gilda in front of him, which is his wife, and pours acid on his face, transforming him into Two-Face. I don't like that one as much. So, like, what do you think of that origin?
Yeah, I'm into it. I'm more into I don't think it's like the worst thing, but I'm more old school in that manner where I like more of the older stuff. What about you then?
This one's all right. It's kind of, I like his wife gets killed in front of him. That's like a huge emotional thing or whatever. And yeah. I mean, it adds some.
I like his wife not getting killed.
I like his wife being murdered in front of him. I think it's great.
It's a big highlight for me.
Yeah. All right.
Are you Two-Face?
No. Maybe.
Yes. Yes.
I am not Two-Face. Maybe I am. All right. Several years later, Erin McKillen returns to Gotham City to kill Two-Face and thus reassert her control of her family's criminal operations. Her return sparks a climactic battle between her, Two-Face, and Batman. Two-Face scars McKillen with the same acid she used on him, but Batman stops him from killing her. Batman and Two-Face continue battling, with Batman trying to convince his foe to end his vendetta. Two-Face then calls Batman Bruce, revealing that he knows Batman's secret identity. Two-Face reveals that he struggled internally for quite some time over whether to kill his former friend, but decided not to because it would have violated his sense of justice. He disappears after the battle, and Batman is unable to track him. Several panels of Batman and Robin number 28 imply that Two-Face commits suicide by shooting himself in the head.
Huh. Well, see, I think you'd be into that. Well, I don't know what that last part, but like of him actually knowing.
I like that. Yeah.
The whole time. I know you're saying you're in that. I wouldn't be opposed to that.
Like he knows, and so he's not going to kill Batman, but
yeah,
he doesn't care if Batman hates him or not. He's just going to keep killing all these other people. It's just not Batman. That's kind of like Joker in a way. Adds that sense of personalness to it. But last part here is the DC Rebirth. In the DC rebooted universe, Batman decides to cure Two-Face, doing whatever it takes. Following a confrontation with Two-Face and his henchmen, Killer Moth, Firefly, and Black Spider, Batman takes Two-Face into his custody until they both have to fight KG Beast. They defeat KG Beast, but are badly injured. Batman nurses Two-Face back to health, but Two-Face suspects Batman of trying to betray him and rubs acid in his eyes. Two-Face and Batman mend their relationship somewhat in order to fight KG Beast, the Penguin, and Black Mask. Batman tells Two-Face he can cure Two-Face's split personality. Two-Face does not trust Batman to help him, however, and so he threatens to destroy Gotham City with poison gas unless Batman gives him the cure. In the end, Batman injects Two-Face with the cure, which turns out to be a sedative that renders Two-Face unconscious. Batman then takes Two-Face back to Arkham.
Dang.
In the Deface the Face story arc, Two-Face goes to help Batman for help. Harvey Dent had murdered a man whom he could not convict in trial. Two-Face says, "Harvey's the good one. He has to be. Otherwise, what am I?" And then decides to help Batman and Gordon bring down the terrorist group Cobra. In the Watchmen sequel, Doomsday Clock, Two-Face is among the villains who attend the underground meeting held by the Riddler. In Harley Quinn Rebirth, while Harley Quinn's gang of Harleys is trying to find information about Man-Bat, they run into Two-Face in Arkham Asylum, where he makes threats towards the group. And that was the history up till now of Two-Face. So, hey, you got a little Watchmen reference right there. And if you tell me Riddler's in that book, I'm gonna have to get it.
I have to get it now. Yeah, it's very that one kind of ends off on a sad note a bit. Of him saying he has a cure. And I'm wondering if, and this is just me going by what you were saying, I wonder, do you think Bruce even had like a Maybe it's not like a cure of like what we're thinking of, or at least what I'm thinking of.
He said all the cure was a sedative
like a sedative
that knocked him out.
Yeah, well, I don't even think that's it. I think the cure, he was going to see if he can get him to change permanently on his own, rather than like
that could be it. That's something Batman would do.
And then he like he holds someone at like gunpoint.
Mm-hmm.
This is like, give me the cure. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he sees he didn't change. He's like, here, and it's a sedative.
Mm-hmm.
And he takes him back to Arkham. So that's what I kind of imagined.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. But yeah, we got a little bit of talking about some Watchmen in there. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Riddler's in there, so I definitely have to buy that now.
I'm always down for some Watchmen.
I'm always down for some Watchmen. I'm also always down for some Riddler. I'll tell you that.
I don't know. Just marry the guy at this point, Darian.
I would. Well, to be honest. Just kidding. All right. I think that unless let me flip a coin.
Let me flip a coin. Heads marry Riddler, tails don't marry.
Now, there's also different versions of Two-Face. There was an imposter Two-Face named Wilkins, which is Harvey Dent's butler, and he decides to turn into Two-Face at one point. Paul Sloan, he was doing a biography film about Two-Face and accidentally disfigured himself during it.
Yeah.
Which I think that's an interesting thing. George Blake, who he's not disfigured but wears makeup, and it's worn on the opposite side of his face to Harvey Dent, which is easily enabled Batman to identify him as an imposter.
Okay.
Batman was in the 1968 story. Batman himself was temporarily turned into Two-Face via a potion.
Huh.
It's the 60s. Don't judge it. Harvey Kent, obviously, I had said something about that. Harvey Dent does return as Two-Face in the 70s. The Two-Face of Earth 2 is said to be Harvey Kent, who had not relapsed following his cure. He was the guest at the marriage of Bruce Wayne and Selina Kyle. He met Lois Lane and Clark Kent, and his shared name with the latter creates confusion. Two-Face 2 was in the Batman Beyond universe. And I don't know his name in that, but he kidnapped an infant Terry McGinnis along with an 80-year-old Carter Nichols and tried to disfigure them in the style of the Joker.
Huh. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with. So he kidnapped Terry McGinnis when he was like a baby.
Yeah.
You said okay. So this is back when Bruce was still being Batman. Okay.
He also shows up in Dark Knight Returns, different versions, alternate versions of variations and all that. Dark Knight Returns, Batman Black and White, Elseworlds. I'd highly recommend reading that. It's good. Thrill Killer, Earth 3, Gotham by Gaslight, which he's called the Double Man in. Mm-hmm. Tangent Comics, Flashpoint, The Batman Adventures, Batman Earth 1, Batman Beyond, Injustice, Gods Among Us, DC Comics Bombshells, Batman 66, Batman / Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Emperor, Joker, The Kingdom Come, and Batman White Knight.
Okay.
And Batman White Knight is one of my favorite Batman stories. It's where Joker, who he says he's cured, and he goes to run for mayor or something like that, but he's not cured.
Mm-hmm.
That is a really good story.
Yeah, I'll check that out.
Yeah, really good. Let me read this one. It's like a little tiny thing, and then we'll be done with this. This is about Batman White Knight. So Two-Face has a minor appearance in the 2017 series Batman White Knight. Dent, along with several other Batman villains, is tricked by Jack Napier, who in this reality was a Joker who had been force-fed an overdose of pills by Batman, which temporarily cured him of his insanity, into drinking drinks that had been laced with particles from Clayface's body. This was done so that Napier, who was using Mad Hatter's technology to control Clayface, could control them by way of Clayface's ability to control parts of his body that had been separated from him. Dent and the other villains are then used to attack a library which Napier himself was instrumental in building in one of Gotham City's poorest districts. Later on in the story, the control hat is stolen by Neo Joker, the second Harley Quinn, who felt that Jack Napier was a pathetic abnormality, while Joker was the true beautiful personality. In an effort to get Napier into releasing the Joker persona, Two-Face also appears in the sequel storyline Batman Curse of the White Knight, being among the villains murdered by Azrael.
Okay.
And that is the history of Harvey Dent, a.k.a. Two-Face.
Not as crazy as Joker's, I would say. But,
and now I'm just going to rattle off real quick 8 of the worst things he's ever done. I talked about he outed Renee Montoya as a lesbian and framed her for murder in order for her to fall in love with him.
Yes.
Let's see. He murdered Jason Todd's father. I talked about that. He tried to put Gordon on trial. I talked about that, and Gordon played the sides on each other.
Yeah.
He terrorized his ex-wife and her husband. Talked about that. Went and kidnapped their kids.
Mm-hmm.
This is some highlights, really, is all this is. He freed the Joker from prison. Talked about that. He nearly beat Dick Grayson to death.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, I don't know exactly why. It's something to do with Frank Miller, I think. Okay. Let's see. It showed the first adventures of the Boy Wonder in year 1, and also shows how he came dangerously close to death during his first encounter with Two-Face. Harvey Dent captures Grayson and beats him half to death, supposedly in revenge for Batman's failure to prevent his disfigurement, and he almost succeeds in killing him.
Wow.
Let's see what else. He broke into the Batcave and attacked Dick Grayson again. That's when I told you about the black and red bat suit and the hallucination, all that.
Yeah,
that was that.
Okay.
And then the best thing, he betrayed Batman and poured acid in his eyes, which I did mention, but that happened.
Yeah, did Batman go blind after that, or?
Let's see. He cures, blah blah. He poured a little acid in his eyes. The ultimate tragedy of the story, though, is that Batman never actually intended to find a cure. This is that story. Instead, he fakes the creation of one, which Harvey then promptly takes, only for it to turn out that it was a sedative all along, which Bruce uses to take him back to Arkham. Cynical? Perhaps, but Two-Face has had plenty of opportunities to go good in the past. Unfortunately for Dent, it seems just as though Big Bat Harv is too great an influence to shake. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the case file of Two-Face.
I would say pretty interesting stuff there. Very, very interesting.
Not as dangerous as the Joker, but one could argue equally as dangerous because he's got those split personalities, so you never know what he's going to do.
Yeah. Good, decent guy 1 minute, very trustworthy, and the next, boom, there's acid in your eyes.
Hit you with a truck.
Hit you with a truck.
I do remember there was a line in Batman the Animated Series, an episode called Almost Got Him, which is my favorite episode of that, which is like...
Oh, yes. That's a great episode.
Penguin, Killer Croc, Two-Face, and Joker, and Poison Ivy, I think, all sitting around a table talking about...
It's, I believe
how they almost got him.
It's Two-Face, Joker, Poison Ivy,
Penguin, and Killer Croc. But Killer Croc turns out to be Batman.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like Killer Croc's turn. He's like, I threw a rock at him.
Yeah, it's a big rock.
Yeah, everybody kind of looks at him. He's like, it was a big rock.
No, but there was a scene in that where Two-Face, Poison Ivy walks up and he goes, "Ooh, who's the lady?" And then Harvey Dent said that, and then Two-Face comes in and goes, "I want to hit her with a truck."
Yeah, yeah. They used to date.
Yeah, who's the lady? I want to hit her with a truck.
Like he's like, one side of me wants to date you, and he's all like, "What's
the other side wants to hit you with a truck?"
Yeah, so what's the other side wants? So I want to hit you with a truck. I'm like, God. Chill, Harvey.
But
Two-Face.
That was it. At least all that I have for the file of Two-Face.
Yeah.
Next week, or not next week, actually, because we're going to skip something because we have to review the Batman. But the week after that, we will be diving into the file of Edward Nygma, a.k.a. the Riddler. Or you could say Edward Nashton, because that was his real name when he first appeared. But we'll be diving into his file. But this one, I think we can go ahead and close the case.
Yeah. I think we should.
If you want to know what our socials are, you guys can go check those out on the normal podcast, The Comic Book Burrito. And I think that's it for this one. Are you done with everything?
Yes, I'm done with this file.
All right. And so I'll go ahead and end this out. Thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. We're going to get out of here. This has been the Arkham Files. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dr. Henderson.
My name is Dr. Boose.
See you next week, ladies and gentlemen.